The Yadaran Council members shifted in their seats, fear flashing across their faces as the tiny metallic disc glinted in the holographic projection of Earth's ancient warbeasts, unleashed on the galaxy once more by a solitary human veteran. For millennia, stories of humanity's prehistoric monsters struck terror in alien hearts. But those were myths of a bygone age, or so the Galactic Council thought. Now one man stood ready to prove that humanity's warbeasts still had claws. "This disk," Robert Green said, voice steady, "holds the genetic keys to Earth's most lethal creatures, resurrected to serve as weapons in our war against the Vortis." The chamber erupted in gasps and mutters. Some species, the Yadarans chief among them, scoffed. "We've seen your kind's feeble efforts," a spindly Yadaran diplomat said. "What could animals possibly do against the might of the Vortis?" Robert met his gaze. "These aren't just animals. They are the distilled ferocity of eons, honed by the cruelest of evolutionary forces on a death world your kind could never withstand." Robert continued. "I've seen civilizations crushed by the Vortis. Only a weapon they cannot fathom will tip the scales. If the Council lacks the resolve to deploy humanity's ancient terrors, the Vortis will not stop until every last one of you is but dust in the stellar wind." As his words sank in, some Council members fidgeted with mounting dread. If Robert failed to convince the Galactic Council, humanity, and perhaps the galaxy itself, stood poised on the precipice of annihilation. In the face of such grim stakes, the human veteran clenched the disc tight, ready to do what he must to ensure the survival of all. Robert inserted the disc into a slot on the Council room's central control panel. The Yadaran leader lunged forward to stop him, but Robert's hands were quicker. He entered a series of commands, and a blinding light filled the chamber. When the light faded, the Council members were stunned to see a menagerie of Earth's ancient beasts materializing before them. There were towering dinosaurs, saber-toothed tigers, dire wolves, and giant eagles. But these were not just fossils brought back to life. Each creature was augmented, with advanced technology seamlessly integrated into their bodies. Robert turned to face the shocked Council. He explained that these creatures, once thought extinct, had been genetically engineered and enhanced by human scientists to serve as the ultimate weapons against the Vortis. The Yadaran leader, visibly shaken, argued that the Council could not condone the use of such unpredictable and savage beasts in warfare. Robert countered, stating that desperate times called for desperate measures, and that humanity had spent decades perfecting the control systems for these creatures. To demonstrate, he issued a series of verbal commands, and the beasts immediately fell into formation, their movements precise and coordinated. The Council members watched in a mix of awe and horror as Robert showcased the destructive capabilities of each creature, from the laser-guided projectiles launched by the dinosaurs to the sonic disruption fields generated by the dire wolves. The Yadaran leader, realizing the potential of these ancient warbeasts, begrudgingly agreed to allow humanity to deploy them against the Vortis, but only under the strict supervision of the Council. Robert nodded, a triumphant gleam in his eye, as he prepared to lead Earth's most fearsome creatures into battle once more. The narrator notes that the stage was set for a confrontation unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, with humanity's ancient past colliding with the technologically advanced present in a desperate bid for survival against the relentless Vortis. Light years away from the Council chamber, where Robert had unleashed humanity's ancient warbeasts, the Vortis homeworld pulsed with activity. Vortis Prime, a towering crystalline being that glittered with an otherworldly iridescence, stood at the heart of the command center. His faceted eyes gleamed as he surveyed the holographic displays, directing the invasion of yet another helpless world. Suddenly alarms screeched throughout the command center. Vortis scouts transmitted frantic images of an approaching human fleet, accompanied by a menagerie of creatures that seemed to have sprung from the depths of primordial nightmares. Vortis Prime's crystalline form vibrated with a resonant chuckle. He was confident in his species' technological might, and he saw these primitive beasts as nothing more than a curiosity, a desperate gambit by a lesser species. With a gesture that sent ripples through his translucent body, Vortis Prime ordered his forces to engage the humans and their bestial allies. As the battle erupted in the void of space, the narrator describes a scene of unparalleled chaos and savagery. Genetically engineered pterosaurs, their leathery wings fitted with advanced cloaking devices, dove upon the Vortis ships like silent predators. With each precisely targeted electromagnetic pulse, the alien vessels found their sensors blinded and their communications severed. On the planet's surface, gigantic mammals that resembled a nightmarish fusion of elephants and rhinoceroses thundered through the ranks of the Vortis ground forces. Their reinforced hides shrugged off the searing heat of energy beams, while their tusks laced with monomolecular blades tore through alien armor like paper. Amidst the fray, Robert Greene stood tall in his advanced mech suit, a gleaming testament to the seamless integration of human ingenuity and the raw power of Earth's ancient beasts. As the battle raged on, Vortis Prime's initial amusement gave way to a creeping sense of unease. His forces, once thought invincible, were being driven back by the relentless ferocity of these creatures and the cunning adaptability of the humans who commanded them. The narrator notes that, for the first time in the Vortis' long history of conquest, they found themselves on the defensive. Faced with an unprecedented alliance between humanity and the resurrected Warbeasts of Earth, the Vortis began to retreat, their crystalline forms flickering with an emotion they had never before experienced: fear. As the Vortis forces beat a hasty retreat, the sense of triumph among Robert Greene's troops was palpable. The narrator notes that the ancient beasts had proven their worth, turning the tide of battle in humanity's favor. However, this victory was to be short-lived. Vortis Prime, in a desperate bid to regain the upper hand, unleashed a secret weapon, a swarm of nanobots designed to infiltrate and disable the genetic enhancements of the ancient creatures. The narrator describes how Robert Greene and his team were caught completely off guard by this unexpected tactic, scrambling to find a way to counter the nanobots before they rendered the beasts useless. In a scene fraught with tension, Robert and his chief scientist, Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, worked feverishly to analyze the nanobots and devise a solution. The narrator paints a picture of mounting pressure as reports flooded in from the battlefield. The ancient beasts were faltering, their enhanced abilities being slowly stripped away by the relentless nanobot swarm. "We're losing them, Robert," Dr. Nakamura shouted over the din of the command center. "If we don't find a way to stop these nanobots, our creatures will be nothing more than oversized targets." Robert slammed his fist on the console. "Keep working, Hiroshi. We can't let this happen. Not now, not when we're so close." Just as all seemed lost, Dr. Nakamura had a breakthrough. "The nanobot," he exclaimed. "They're vulnerable to a specific electromagnetic frequency. If we can generate that frequency, we might be able to disable them." The narrator reveals that the frequency could be generated by a rare mineral found only on a handful of planets. Without hesitation, Robert dispatched teams to secure supplies of the mineral, while he and his remaining forces fought a desperate rearguard action to keep the Vortis at bay. The battle raged on, the narrator painting a vivid picture of the chaos. The ancient beasts, their powers waning, still fought tooth and claw alongside their human allies against the resurgent Vortis forces. Laser fire crisscrossed the battlefield as the genetically enhanced creatures, once the pride of humanity's arsenal, struggled to hold the line. With seconds to spare, Dr. Nakamura activated the device. A pulse of energy rippled across the battlefield, washing over the ancient beasts. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, as if awakening from a deep slumber, the creatures surged forward with renewed vigor. The nanobots, disabled by the electromagnetic pulse, fell away in droves. The tide of the battle turned once more, the ancient beasts tearing into the Vortis forces with a ferocity that bordered on the primeval. The narrator notes that humanity had snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, but the war was far from over. As Robert surveyed the battlefield, he knew that this was only the beginning of a long and bloody conflict. The Vortis, for all their technological might, had underestimated the tenacity of the human spirit and the power of Earth's ancient warbeasts. But they would not make that mistake again. The narrator shifts the focus from the momentous victory over the Vortis forces to the halls of the Galactic Council, where news of humanity's triumph spreads like wildfire. The chamber buzzes with a mixture of excitement, disbelief, and trepidation as the representatives of countless races grapple with the implications of Earth's ancient beasts turned weapons. Amidst the clamor, the Yadaran leader rises from his seat, his spindly form quivering with barely contained avarice. "These creatures," he hisses, "could change the balance of power in the galaxy. We must ensure they do not remain solely in human hands." In a tense closed-door meeting, the Yadaran leader confronts Robert Greene, his voice dripping with false congeniality. "Surely as allies, you would share the secrets of these beasts with us? It is only right that all races benefit from such power." Robert meets the Yadaran's gaze, his jaw set with resolve. These creatures are part of Earth's heritage, not mere commodities to be traded. Their power is a responsibility we take seriously. The Yadaran's eyes narrow, his true intentions laid bare. "You would defy the Council? We have the authority to compel your compliance." "Oh, you mean you've strong-armed the other races into supporting your power grab?" Robert counters, his voice low and dangerous. As tensions reach a breaking point, an unexpected voice cuts through the room. Zixtal, the diminutive Kiraxi ambassador, steps forward, his iridescent carapace shimmering under the chamber's lights. "The Kiraxi have long suffered under Yadaran oppression," Zixtal declares, his voice resonating with a strength that belies his small stature. "But we possess ancient knowledge of the very techniques used to revive these beasts, knowledge we are willing to share with our human friends." The narrator describes the clandestine meeting between Robert and Zixtal in a dimly lit corner of the station. The Kiraxi ambassador presses a small data crystal into Robert's hand, his compound eyes glinting with hope. "With this you can not only improve your creatures, but perhaps revive even greater ones from your world's past. Let this be the start of a new alliance, one that will break the chains of Yadaran tyranny." As Robert takes the crystal, his mind races with the possibilities. The missing pieces of the genetic puzzle finally within reach. The potential to turn the tide not just against the Vortis, but against all who would threaten Earth and its allies. The scene ends with a sense of foreboding, the narrator hinting at the growing divide within the Council. Humanity and the Kiraxi stand united, a beacon of defiance against the machinations of the Yadarans and their reluctant allies. The stage is set for a conflict that could engulf the galaxy, with Earth's ancient beasts poised to play a pivotal role in the battles to come. The narrator continues, revealing that even as political machinations unfold within the Galactic Council, the war against the Vortis rages on. Robert Greene and his team, armed with the ancient knowledge provided by their new Kiraxi allies, work feverishly to further enhance the capabilities of Earth's revived beasts. In a dimly lit laboratory, the narrator describes the palpable excitement as a massive containment tank hisses open, revealing a creature that sends shivers down the spines of even the most battle-hardened soldiers. The Titanoboa, a gargantuan serpent from Earth's prehistoric swamps, slithers forth, its scales gleaming with the telltale sheen of advanced biomechanical implants. "Magnificent," Robert breathes, his eyes wide with awe. "With this beast at our side, the Vortis won't stand a chance." Dr. Nakamura nods, his face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays. The Titanoboa's neurotoxic venom has been enhanced to a level that can disable Vortis ships from within. Its sinuous body will allow it to infiltrate their vessels like no other creature can. As the Titanoboa is deployed on the front lines, the tide of the war begins to turn in humanity's favor. The narrator paints a vivid picture of the serpent slithering through the corridors of Vortis ships, its venom melting through bulkheads and short-circuiting vital systems. Vortis warriors, once confident in their technological superiority, find themselves helpless against this unorthodox and terrifying new weapon. Desperate to regain the upper hand, Vortis Prime hatches a daring plot to steal the genetic templates of the ancient beasts. The narrator shifts focus to a cloaked figure, moving silently through the shadows of the human research facility, housing the precious data. The spy, a cunning Vortis operative who has managed to infiltrate Robert's inner circle, makes their way towards the central database. Alarms blare as the spy's presence is detected. Robert, flanked by his elite security team, races through the facility's corridors, his heart pounding in his ears. "Seal all exits," he barks into his comm unit. "We can't let the spy escape with the data." A fierce battle erupts within the facility, the Vortis spy proving to be a formidable adversary. Energy beams sear the air as Robert and his team engage the intruder, the fate of humanity's most powerful weapons hanging in the balance. Just as the spy is about to make their escape, a chilling howl echoes through the facility. The genetically enhanced dire wolves, their senses heightened to superhuman levels, have picked up the scent of the intruder. The narrator describes the primal terror in the spy's eyes as the wolves give chase, their paws pounding against the metal floors. In a climactic confrontation, the dire wolves corner the spy, their fangs bared and eyes glinting with predatory focus. Robert, his weapon trained on the spy, demands the return of the stolen data. The spy, realizing the futility of their mission, reluctantly hands over the data drive. But as Robert takes the drive, the spy lets out a chilling laugh. "You may have won this battle, human," they hiss, "but the Vortis are closer than you think to unlocking the secrets of your precious beasts. This war is far from over." With this revelation, Robert realizes that the fight against the Vortis has taken on a new dimension. Not only must humanity continue to battle the alien threat on the front lines, but they must also race against time to fully master the power of the ancient beasts before the Vortis can turn that power against them. The narrator's voice takes on a grave tone as he describes the grim revelation of the Vortis' own genetic manipulation program, a dark mirror to humanity's efforts with Earth's ancient beasts. In the face of this new threat, Robert Greene, the steadfast commander of Earth's forces, proposes a plan as daring as it is desperate, a surgical strike on the very heart of the Vortis Empire. "We have to take out Vortis Prime," Robert says, his voice steady despite the weight of his words, "and their primary research facilities. It's the only way to stop them from unleashing their own twisted versions of our beasts." To accomplish this feat, Robert and his team turn to a creature of myth and legend, the Quetzalcoatlus, a colossal flying reptile from Earth's distant past. In secret hangars deep within human-controlled space, these behemoths are reborn, their leathery wings now laced with advanced stealth technology and their elongated beaks housing specialized sonic weaponry. As the strike team trains relentlessly, honing their skills and bonding with their awe-inspiring mounts, the narrator reveals a new complication in the tangled web of galactic politics. The Yardarans, ever opportunistic, have begun to openly support the Vortis, seeing them as a potential ally against humanity's growing power. In a tense confrontation before the Galactic Council, the Yardaran leader's voice drips with disdain. "These beasts are an affront to the very order of the galaxy," he declares, his spindly fingers pointing accusingly at Robert. "Humanity must stand down and surrender them, or face the consequences." Robert, his jaw set and his eyes blazing with determination, stands his ground. Behind him, the Caraxi ambassador and representatives from a handful of other allied races offer their silent support. The lines are drawn, and the stage is set for a potential civil war within the very heart of the Council. But Robert and his team remain undeterred. With the clock ticking and the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance, they launch their audacious plan. As the bulk of the human fleet engages the Vortis forces in a massive diversionary attack, the Quetzalcoatlus strike force slips through the cracks, their stealth systems rendering them all but invisible to the enemy's sensors. Suddenly alarms blare within the cockpit of one of the reptilian steeds. The Vortis have detected an anomaly, and their sensors sweep the area with ruthless precision. In a heart-stopping instant, the pilot, a grizzled veteran of countless battles, makes a split-second decision. With a deft maneuver, he sends his Quetzalcoatlus into a dizzying spiral, narrowly evading detection and certain doom. With the crisis averted, the strike force presses on, their target looming ever closer. As they approach the Vortis homeworld, the narrator's voice rises in anticipation, setting the stage for a climactic confrontation that could alter the very course of the war and the fate of the galaxy itself. The Quetzalcoatlus, their sonic weapons primed and ready, prepare to unleash hell upon the unsuspecting Vortis below. The Quetzalcoatlus strike force emerges from the void of space, the Vortis homeworld looming before them. The pilots, their faces etched with grim determination, exchange glances as they prepare to unleash their sonic weaponry. With a series of precise, coordinated strikes, the Quetzalcoatlus unleash a cacophony of sound, the reverberations shaking the very foundations of the Vortis defenses. Alarms blare across the planet's surface as the Vortis forces, caught off guard by the audacious attack, scramble to respond. The bulk of their ships, their crystalline hulls glinting in the starlight, race to engage the Quetzalcoatlus, leaving Vortis Prime's personal compound vulnerable. Seizing the opportunity, Robert Greene and his elite team, accompanied by a pack of genetically enhanced dire wolves, make their move. They slip through the chaos, their stealth technology rendering them all but invisible to the Vortis sensors. As they approach the compound, the dire wolves take point, their enhanced senses alert for any sign of danger. Inside the compound, the team faces fierce resistance from Vortis Prime's personal guard. Energy beams crisscross the twisting corridors as Robert and his soldiers engage in intense close-quarters combat, the snarls of the dire wolves mixing with the cries of the fallen. They push forward, inch by bloody inch, towards the central chamber, where they believe Vortis Prime is directing the war effort. In orbit, the Quetzalcoatlus strike force finds itself outmatched and outnumbered. The Vortis ships, their weapons charged and ready, close in for the kill. In a moment of clarity, the human pilots realize that their only hope is to buy more time for Robert's team, even at the cost of their own lives. The narrator, his voice heavy with emotion, describes the heart-wrenching scene as the pilots bid farewell to their genetically bonded Quetzalcoatlus. Tears stream down their faces as they whisper final words of affection to the majestic creatures, their hands resting on the sleek, armored hides. With a final, determined nod, the pilots engage their overload sequences, the sonic weapons building to a crescendo. In a blinding flash of light and sound, the Quetzalcoatlus explode, the shockwaves tearing through the Vortis fleet like a scythe through wheat. Ships shatter and break apart, the debris spinning off into the void as the pilot's sacrifice buys precious moments for their comrades below. Back in the compound, Robert's team finally breaches the central chamber, their weapons at the ready. But instead of finding Vortis Prime alone, they are confronted by the alien leader surrounded by a group of heavily armed soldiers. The air crackles with tension as the two sides face off, fingers tightening on triggers. In a shocking twist, Vortis Prime steps forward, a cruel smile playing across his crystalline features. He reveals that, using the knowledge stolen from the human research facility, he has managed to create his own genetically enhanced beasts, a pack of monstrous hybridized creatures that combine the most deadly aspects of Earth's ancient predators. With a gesture, Vortis Prime unleashes these abominations upon Robert and his team. The creatures, their bodies a twisted amalgam of scales, fur, and chitinous armor, lunge forward, their eyes blazing with a feral, unnatural hunger. The dire wolves, their hackles raised, meet the charge head-on, their enhanced strength and speed put to the ultimate test. Robert and his soldiers open fire, their weapons spitting deadly rounds at the advancing monstrosities. The chamber erupts into a chaotic melee of claws, fangs, and flashing blades, as the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. The narrator's voice rises above the din, painting a vivid picture of the desperate struggle as Robert and his team fight for their lives against the nightmarish creations of Vortis Prime's twisted genius. The narrator's voice rises to a crescendo as he describes the chaotic melee that erupts within Vortis Prime's inner sanctum. Robert's team and their genetically enhanced dire wolves, mere moments ago triumphant, now find themselves locked in a desperate struggle against Vortis Prime's elite guard and their abominable hybrid monstrosities. The chamber echoes with the clash of weapons and the snarls of the embattled beasts. The dire wolves, their enhanced muscles rippling beneath their armored hides, lunge at the Vortis hybrids with reckless abandon. Yet for all their strength and speed, the wolves find themselves outmatched by the sheer savagery of their foes. The Vortis hybrids, their bodies a nightmarish fusion of scales, chitin and twisted flesh, fight with a ferocity that borders on madness. They shrug off the wolves' attacks, their unnatural resilience turning what should have been mortal wounds into mere scratches. Robert, his face a mask of desperation, reaches for a hidden device on his armor. A miniaturized electromagnetic pulse generator, a weapon of last resort. With a shout of defiance, he activates the device, sending a cascading wave of energy rippling through the chamber. For a heartbeat, the world seems to hold its breath. Robert's team, the dire wolves, even the Vortis soldiers, all watch in stunned silence as the pulse washes over the hybrid beasts. And then, to Robert's horror, the creatures continue their onslaught, unfazed by the electromagnetic assault. Vortis Prime, his crystalline form shuddering with malevolent laughter, steps forward. "Did you truly believe your primitive weapons could harm my creations?" the alien leader taunts. "I have adapted them, human, made them immune to your pathetic devices." Around Robert, his team falls one by one, overwhelmed by the relentless fury of the hybrids. In a matter of moments, only he remains, standing alone before Vortis Prime. The alien warlord looms over Robert, his faceted eyes glinting with cruel amusement. "You have failed, human," Vortis Prime gloats. "Even now, my forces are preparing to mass-produce these magnificent beasts. Soon, the galaxy will tremble before the might of the Vortis." Robert, his eyes blazing with a final desperate resolve, lunges forward, his hands latching onto Vortis Prime's crystalline form with an unbreakable grip. The alien leader, caught off guard, struggles to break free, but Robert's hold is unyielding. "If I'm going down," Robert growls through gritted teeth, "I'm taking you with me." With a final defiant roar, Robert activates the self-destruct mechanism hidden within his armor. Vortis Prime's eyes widen in sudden understanding, a flicker of fear crossing his alien features. The world vanishes in a blinding flash of light and a deafening roar. The central chamber, the heart of Vortis Prime's stronghold, is consumed by the explosion, the shockwave rippling out through the compound like a tidal wave of destruction. In the aftermath, the narrator reveals, the Vortis soldiers and their remaining hybrid beasts are thrown into disarray, their command structure decapitated by the loss of their leader. The compound lies in ruins, a smouldering testament to Robert Greene's final, desperate gambit. The narrator's voice rings out in the silence that follows the devastating explosion, painting a vivid picture of the aftermath of Robert Greene's ultimate sacrifice. Through the settling dust and debris, the human soldiers emerge, their faces etched with a mix of grief and grim determination. They pick their way through the ruins of Vortis Prime's compound, the once mighty structure now reduced to a smouldering heap of twisted metal and shattered crystal. In the distance, the sounds of battle echo across the alien landscape as the human fleet, now under the command of Robert's second-in-command, Admiral Elena Novak, presses the advantage. The ancient beasts, their hearts heavy with the loss of their leader, surge forward with renewed ferocity, their primal roars mingling with the whine of advanced weaponry. The narrator's voice grows somber as he describes the scene aboard the Vortis command ship, where confusion and despair reign supreme. With their leader gone and their secret weapon destroyed, the Vortis forces find themselves rudderless, their once unshakable confidence shattered like the crystalline shards that litter the battlefield. "All is lost," a Vortis commander whispers, his voice trembling with fear. "The humans, they cannot be stopped." As if to punctuate his words, a massive, genetically enhanced Tyrannosaurus Rex bursts through the hull of the command ship, its gargantuan jaws lined with gleaming, adamantium-laced teeth. The beast lets out a deafening roar before lunging forward, scattering the terrified Vortis crew like leaves in a hurricane. Across the Vortis Empire, news of Vortis Prime's fall spreads like wildfire, sparking a wave of surrender and retreat. The once mighty Vortis war machine crumbles, its soldiers and ships fleeing before the relentless advance of the human forces. "We are broken," a Vortis captain mutters, his head bowed in defeat as he offers his surrender to a grim-faced human soldier. "The galaxy is yours." The narrator's voice swells with pride as he recounts the final, decisive battles of the war, the ancient beasts and their human allies fighting side by side to cleanse the galaxy of the Vortis threat. In the end, the Vortis Empire is no more, its remnants scattered to the far reaches of the galaxy, never to threaten the peace again. But even as the humans celebrate their hard-won victory, the narrator's tone grows cautionary. He speaks of the Galactic Council, convening an emergency session to discuss the fate of the galaxy in the wake of the Vortis defeat. "Humanity has saved us," the Kiraxi ambassador Zixtal insists, his voice ringing out in the council chamber. "They have earned their place among the stars." But not all share his sentiment. The narrator describes the fear and mistrust that ripples through the gathered representatives, their eyes darting nervously to the human delegation and the ancient beasts that flank them. As the debate rages on, the narrator's voice grows heavy with foreboding. He speaks of the Council's final decision, a verdict that will forever change the course of human history. "Humanity must leave," the Yadaran leader declares, his voice dripping with triumph. "They must return to their homeworld and destroy all traces of their ancient beasts. Only then can the galaxy be truly safe." The human delegation erupts in outrage, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance. Admiral Novak steps forward, her eyes blazing with a fire that matches the fury of the ancient beasts at her side. "We have bled for this galaxy," she growls, her voice trembling with barely contained rage. "We have sacrificed everything to save you from the Vortis, and this is how you repay us, with exile and disgrace?" But the Council is unmoved. The decision is final, the narrator intones, his voice heavy with the weight of history. Humanity must leave, their ancient beasts and their technology forever sealed away, their triumphs overshadowed by the very power that saved the galaxy. As the human fleet prepares to depart, the ancient beasts are herded into massive cryostasis chambers, their massive forms frozen in time, their fates uncertain in a galaxy that fears and misunderstands them. The narrator's voice grows thick with emotion as he describes the final moments of the great beasts, their eyes slowly closing as the icy mist of stasis envelops them. "Sleep well, old friends," Admiral Novak whispers, her hand resting on the icy glass of the stasis chamber. "Your time will come again." With a final mournful glance, the human fleet jumps into hyperspace, the stars stretching into infinite lines as they begin the long journey back to Earth. The narrator's voice fades into silence, leaving only the haunting image of the ancient beasts, once the saviors of the galaxy, now frozen in time, their sacrifices forgotten, their triumphs overshadowed by the very power that made them great. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.